Hello, and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for Monday, December 28th, 2020. This is our last update of the year with New Year just around the corner. And I am Gary Gillan, your host for this week's edition. We did receive positive feedback from a number of sources last week on the inaugural podcast, so we will continue with them and see where it takes us as we move forward. On to the game segment for this week, starting with a review of last week. We had two solid victories to keep our lead atop the Premiership in Scotland intact, and the first one was a relatively low-key and, dare I say it, routine victory against St Johnstone in Perth, and Saturday saw us with a narrower victory in terms of scoreline, but in hindsight, the 1-0 victory over Hibs, to me anyway, seemed a lot less fraught and not befitting of the in-game nerves that I displayed at the time, you know, when you look at the game in retrospect. But two very solid victories to keep us going, which is great, and also set us up for a very, very important week. Starting on Wednesday, December 30th, we're away to St Mirren in the league with a 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. Yep, 10 a.m. for a midweek game is quite unusual for us, but that's what we're doing because of the festive period, I guess. And then Saturday morning, the big one, January 2nd, at home to Celtic, again in the league, and this time it's a 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. We have 12 wins in a row in the league right now, and we're certainly desperate to continue with that great vein of form, I should say, in the league. And Wednesday sees us with an opportunity to right all the wrongs that we imposed on ourselves in the League Cup game recently to St Mirren. So hopefully we get that in the bag and the 3 points and move on to the big one, the Old Firm, on Saturday. Just a wee tidbit, I was bantering in a group message with some pals last week, and we were talking about the average points per game and what does that look like for us. You might remember the average points per game was what that other mob from the other side of the city started to churn out in the very, very early stages of the lockout back last season, around about March time this year. And to date, right now, appreciating that we've played 3 games more, the average points per game for Rangers is 2.8 points per game, and the other mob from the other side of the city is 2.35. It's just another wee thing for our back pocket, should their antics go all wacky when we deliver a wee bit more daylight in the league championship to them on Saturday coming. So that's what we have from a games perspective. And just to reiterate what we talked about last week, if you need any information on the RTV vouchers that we've been lucky enough to enjoy here in North America, please don't hesitate to reach out and do that via your president or secretary of your club, or you can contact me directly and I will loop in the president and secretary of your club as well to keep the conversations as tight as we possibly can, but would be more than happy if anybody else would see the value in taking those vouchers. From a convention perspective, I'm kind of sad to tell you here that in the last week, in discussions with the Bramley Rangers Supporters Club, who you'll remember were the hosts of the 2021 convention, we had since a dialogue to move the 2021 convention in its entirety to 2022. Unfortunately, the dates that we were offered from the Western Harbour Castle Hotel didn't marry in with what we were trying to do. There was nothing available in May. There was only one weekend available at the end of June, and July was sparse as well. Projecting forward to 2023, if that was even a part of the consideration, the typical week that we host a convention, which is the first weekend in June normally, was also unavailable. So that got us to a point where the Bramley local organising committee via their executive came back and requested to be removed from consideration for hosting the future convention, which I know is a decision that was most definitely not taken lightly at all by everyone involved, and my heart honestly truly aches for everyone involved in that, from the Bramley, Scott Allen, David Borgen and their very dedicated team of volunteers put in an amazing shift, and to have it all taken away from them through absolutely no fault of their own is tough to take. And as you'll know, with San Francisco being cancelled earlier this year as well, that's 2 conventions in a row now that we don't have the opportunity to host for bears all over the world, and that's also tough to take, you know. So we turn our attentions now to planning and a plan B for 2022, and I will hopefully be in a position to be able to provide an update on the location for 2022 during next week's update. That's the plan. We are doing some admin in the background, we're having some conversations, and if we get all the I's dotted and T's crossed, we will be in a position to let you know a bit more about that there. From an admin housekeeping perspective, if you booked into the Western Harbour Castle for the 2021 event, we have negotiated cancellation of the event with the Western Harbour Castle, and they've been very, very good to deal with, I'm delighted to say. And they have also taken steps to block cancel all hotel rooms booked under the NARSA block. So some people might have already received the cancellation notification. Don't worry if you haven't, because apparently there was a glitch in their system last week which determined that cancellation notifications weren't being sent out. But there is nothing more for you to do. Everything has been cancelled, and if you need peace of mind, you can contact the hotel, but I can assure you that your block booking will be cancelled on your behalf. So that's just some admin clean-up stuff that we have to do from there. In other business, we did send out the agenda for the general meeting that we discussed briefly in last week's update, and that's going to be held via conference call on Saturday, the January 23rd, 2021. And if there is anything specific you would like raised or discussed at the meeting, please reach out to your president and or secretary of your club, and they can relay that agenda item to the NARSA secretary, Sandra Hawthorne, to get it added to the agenda, and we will certainly discuss whatever the membership wants to discuss, as well as our standing regular items as well. So the feature segment that I popped out for this week is going to be MyGers, and for anyone who has been paying attention to some of the schemes that Rangers have been producing over the last wee while will no doubt be familiar with MyGers. It's a membership scheme that the club has put in place. I believe at the time of recording they have something like 26,000 members already signed up. There's different tiers of memberships you can get depending on your age and your category. And myself and Brian Campbell have been chatting. Brian Campbell is the NARSA Vice President. Have been chatting with the club since late last season about MyGers and how NARSA could get involved, and what the benefits to our membership could be as well. And we've been speaking with Natalie Nairn in the commercial department, and also Greg Marshall, the supporters liaison officer, about this. If you've done any research, or if you've even purchased a membership to date, you'll see that it's not truly geared for overseas bears. Not really, not just yet. There's a lot of benefits that you can enjoy in terms of discounts at the restaurant and points for games attended and things like that, which is more geared for bears in the UK, and bears that can actually make games and enjoy the benefits of being in and around the Ibrox area. So that's something that we fed back in abundance to the club, and something they're very acutely aware of, and that they will be addressing as we go forward. So more to follow on that when we get going a little bit. But one bit of good news we've got from a MyGers perspective is that we're in good shape to get some free memberships from the club to help with a bit of promotion and marketing. And we're not 100% sure how many we're going to get yet, but as soon as we get access to those, we will do a raffle or a draw of some description for our NARSA members in good standing, and get you a free 1-year membership for MyGers. So stay tuned on that. I'm hoping that we'll be able to lock that in over the next couple of weeks and get ourselves organised. So in closing for today, I again would like to reiterate, if there's anything you would like to hear about at all in terms of content for the weekly update, or anything else from a NARSA specific perspective, please do get in touch. with me directly, either via the Facebook communication group that we have or the WhatsApp group that we have as well, or directly on email at rangersscc@hotmail.com, 2 S's and 2 C's, and we'll do what we can. We've already started gathering some contacts for some of the clubs to be able to provide us a little bit of an overview of their history, which we'll do in a specific special pod or pods at some point early in the new year. We'll try and get those interviews organised for January, February time frame. So if you would like to nominate someone or nominate yourself to do that on behalf of your club, please get in touch and we'll get that organised. We'll get some interview questions prepped in advance so that it's not just completely off the cuff. And there we go. So yes, so thanks very, very much for taking the time to listen, and please do share this with any bears that you think would be interested in listening. And here's hoping that our wonderful team can take another 6 points from the next 2 games to make it 14 wins on the spin. Everyone, thank you very much. Have a very, very happy new year when it comes later this week on behalf of myself and the NARSA executive. Take care. All the very best. Cheerio.